Hey everyone. So today I will be presenting our social media recommender systems to blame for the increasing trajectory of polarization. So one of my personal interests in this topic is actually after the 2016 election as well as the 2020 election. I saw my family being affected by this polarization. My parents became more outspoken on their political beliefs. Additionally, my mother was frequently solicited by extremist groups on social media, which I did not like. But I found this trend was true throughout the United States as well, and other families were affected by this issue. So I also wanted to incorporate real world applications of computer science, which is something that I'm currently minoring in, as well as the risks involved in the recommendation process for content. Finally, it's a very relevant topic to right now, especially in late 2021, when Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen talked about how Facebook designed their recommender systems to purposely polarize and generate more revenue. To get into political polarization, first we have two definitions. Effective polarization is the tendency for partisans, which is known as the in-group, to dislike and distrust non-partisans, the out-group. And then issue polarization is the divergent beliefs along partisan lines, such as having different views on gun control laws. What I found in my research is that effective polarization is the much more dangerous of the two because it promotes a sense of where you question the morality of out-group members, while a moderate level of issue polarization can actually contribute to more productive debate on key social issues. So the effects of effective polarization are a decrease in trust in our government. As can be seen in the graph, in 1994, the median view of people were consistently liberal and conservative, less than in 2014, where the gap has greatly widened. Additionally, the number of individuals who believe the opposing party is a threat, as shown 27% among Democrats and 36% among Republicans, has tripled since 1994. So to get into social media recommender systems, they essentially provide personalized content to social media users through collection of information on these users, as well as an algorithm to determine the best recommendation. So this includes explicit and implicit browsing behavior, such as whether they clicked through onto a different website and how much time they spent, and as well as content popularity, corresponding ratings, and topics that the content is expressing are collected as well. So to get into filter bubbles, it's an algorithmically generated online environment in which people are exposed only to opinions and information that conform to their existing beliefs. So this contributes to political polarization by only giving users that conforms to these beliefs and can isolate them from other perspectives. Finally, over-reliance bias is essentially when existing data is used to make decisions on users that don't have enough data collected on them. So that can lead to where, for example, a young user on Facebook would be exposed to more liberal views and news, since other younger users express those liberal views as well as majority group bias, where groups that are underrepresented receive less accurate recommendations, and often attributes from the overrepresented groups are applied to these groups, which lowers the accuracy of recommendations. So for cross-impact analysis, I found in my research that filter bubbles really are not as pervasive as the definition implies. So it is found that only 1 in 300 clicks on social media platforms are used for news articles, and 94% of these clicks were for descriptive news that didn't really impact effective polarization greatly. And I also found that people created their own echo chambers through choice, rather than the influence of actual social media recommendations and following these recommendations. Additionally, in an experiment, users who deactivated their social media account for 4 weeks, it was found that effective polarization was not actually impacted at all, and issue polarization only decreased by 0.16 standard deviations. Finally, in 9 countries that have seen similar trends, as you can see right here, in internet and social media adoption, only the US, Canada, and Switzerland had an increase in polarization, while, for example, New Zealand, Germany even, had a decrease in polarization. One more key point is that traditional media actually contributes more to this polarization issue, as in older individuals, they are the most polarized group that we see today, while younger groups who use social media most frequently did not experience the same level of polarization. So I wanted to go about and address this issue. So it is important to make sure that social media, as it continues to grow, the recommender systems can combat this polarization issue. So one thing I want to talk about was fair recommender systems, where these recommender systems can provide a better recommendation for majority groups, but not minority groups. So in order to combat this, you need to upsample the minority groups and create more data points for them, as well as correcting the biases that result from the lack of data, and focus more on personalized attributes for these groups. Additionally, human oversight, which is difficult since recommender systems are often designed with an end goal, such as maximizing user engagement, and this causes the machine learning to create variables and decisions that are unclear to humans. So to combat this, you have to build explainable recommender systems where explanations are clarified and why such items are recommended are made transparent to humans. So yeah, future steps. There's a current lack of established causal link between recommender systems and polarization, especially since studies have not been wide enough. And so we need to perform a larger study across the greater part of the population to determine the actual impacts. And finally, to design recommender systems to depolarize, have to look at the different steps, such as moderation, where which types of content can be shown, and ranking what type of content is ranked and recommended. So yeah, I want to thank my advisor, Stephanie Watts, as well as Linda Dorr for helping to advise on my topic. So yeah, thank you.
Questions?
There were a couple points in your talk, especially the recommendations toward the end, where it sounded like sort of more human involvement and more human knowledge of how algorithms work might generally be beneficial. Is that sort of a direction that you're seeing your research point to, that actually we need more sort of eyes on the data and eyes on the technology than Facebook currently has?
Yeah, for sure. Like, one of the key issues in the Facebook trial for these recommender systems was that even though Frances Haugen really claimed that Facebook was deliberately creating this polarization, it wasn't actually proven. And additionally, a lot of the coders who worked on with these algorithms, they couldn't even understand why decisions were made and why certain attributes were focused on, because it's not really translatable to human terms. So there has to be a real focus on that in order to better understand, even for a non-technical population, to really address this issue. So yeah.
So I admit that I found it amazing that you were concluding that social media wasn't increasing polarization. That seems like a really important insight. And you were looking cross-culturally to show that. And on that slide, had some point about governance being more important. Could you elaborate on that point?
Yeah, so I did skip over some parts because of time, but
Sure.
for example, in the United States, as well as Canada, they work on a bipartisan governance model, which is believed to be the real contributor to this polarization. While, for example, in Norway, Germany, they don't have the same governance model. Even though they have recommender systems and wide access to social media, this polarization can't be generalized across these different countries. So, yeah.
So it's political system.
Yes.
Not governance of social media or restrictions on social
Yes.
media use.
Yes, it would seem so.
Got it. Other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.